The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel is Jack Baruzzini. Hey, Jack.
Hey, Dom.
Thomas Sanderho may join us partway through. He might be having some technical difficulties, so we hope he can join us in media res or in the midst of things. But until then, let's get into... I do actually want to have one programming note. I've mentioned in a couple of last few weeks, we will not have a new episode after this week for 2 weeks. Our StarQuest Media pilgrimage to Italy starts this Monday on the 15th and goes for 2 weeks. We'll be back the last week of July. Will be the next episode of the show. So you'll have plenty of time to catch up on old shows if you want. So until then, let's talk about today's topic, which is passkeys. Passkeys have been big in the news. A lot of people talking about transition to them. Passwords are dying, and good riddance, and passkeys are going to replace them. So what are passkeys? This has been a kind of a tricky thing, because people don't really know what we're talking about when we're talking about passkeys. Mm-hmm. Everyone kind of by this point knows how passwords work. You have a username, maybe your email address or something like that, and a password, which is some unique word or phrase or random letters and numbers and symbols. But from your understanding, what's a passkey?
It's essentially I kind of like to explain it, especially to like more non-tech savvy people in my life. It's like a very powerful password that is much easier to hack and requires you to have your device and also have biometric authentication to be able to use it.
Much harder to hack.
Yes, much harder to hack. Yes.
Yes. Right. That's a good way of putting it. It's it's essentially a digital key. So like a password, but it's tied to a physical device of some sort. Mm-hmm. There are variations in that. We can get into how right. That varies, but it's also tied to something unique about you, some physical characteristic of you, whether it's your fingerprint or your eye print, with a Face ID or face print or voice print, or there's lots of different ways that you could conceivably unlock it. And so you have a key and a lock, and they have to match. And that's the big thing is that with a password, the guy on the other side has your password. And what he's doing is saying, is what you're giving me the same? Mm-hmm. But what happens with passkeys is the guy on the other side has essentially what's kind of like an electronic version of a lock, and only your key goes into it. And he's got all these different locks for everybody who uses the site. And what has to happen is your key, your pass key goes into it, and if it unlocks it, then you're in. But he doesn't know what by the shape of or the version of the lock that he has can't reveal what the pass key is. Your explanation is probably better, but it's sort of there's two pieces, and until right. You have the two pieces come together, nothing works, and it's not enough to break into it. And that's the key. The important part is passkeys are more secure. So I have a definition that I got that's trying to explain it to like high school age kids. So bear with me with it. High school age kids actually sometimes a little more technically sophisticated. But so what it says is a passkey is like a secret digital key stored on your phone or computer that helps you log into websites without typing a password. It uses something called cryptographic keys, which are like two puzzle pieces that match up. One piece stays private on your device. The other piece is stored safely on the website. When you log in, your device proves it has the right private piece by fitting it perfectly with the website's piece, kind of like a lock and key. Mm-hmm. Nobody can steal your private piece because it never leaves your phone or computer. That's an important aspect. That makes passkeys way harder for hackers to steal than passwords. In short, it's a magic secret key that only your device can use, and it talks to the website to unlock your account safely. So that's the thing. What makes passwords less secure is all of our passwords are stored, even though they're stored in a encrypted, usually, hopefully, on the server. They're still stored there. Whereas passkeys are never like our half of the passkey. It's digitally connected on our device with their path, but it never gets stored anywhere else. I think that's
right. Yeah, your key on, like, you have the key. The lock is public facing just by virtue of the fact that it needs to be, but your key is completely private on your device, so no one else ever sees it.
Right. So what else? So what is it that makes passkeys? In addition to what we're saying, what makes passkeys so great? Again, no passwords are stored on the web server so that hackers can't steal it. What else makes passkeys better than passwords?
Honestly, one of the best things is you don't have to remember a long string of characters, and that inherently makes it more secure because you're not going to be writing down your passkey in plain text and sticking it under your keyboard or keeping it in a notes file on your phone or on your desktop. And the way that you activate it is it's biometric through your device, so you just have to physically have your device and then physically be able to authenticate it. And that's the only way your passkey is going to work. Whereas with a password, if you write it down, someone can steal it, or if you store it in an unencrypted file, if someone gets into your computer, or like I've known people who store their passwords in Google Docs or in their notes app on their phone, and that's someone gets that and they have your password, and that's all they need. They don't have to have your device or prove that they're actually you. Whereas with the passkey, you have to have those two things.
Right. I knew an organization that stored all of the passwords for the organization in a Word doc on a shared drive that was on the Wi-Fi network, which had no password for it, so anyone could access it. Walking by. I helped them fix that. Yeah, that's actually another great aspect of this, is that you don't know what your passwords are. Like there's no way for you to know. Like even now, I don't know what my passwords are for most sites because I store them in 1Password. But passkeys are not user accessible in that sense. Like you don't know what your passkey is. All you know is that one thing that unlocks the passkey, so unlocks your device. I don't think we could do this without everyone having smartphones. I mean, that's really the key here. I keep saying key. This is really the thing that makes all this possible, is that everyone has a biometrically locked device with them all the time that they can use to unlock their passkeys. I think that's the best part of it. Why it makes it so brilliant to do this now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the way things need to move. I've encountered a lot of resistance to it just because I think it is kind of hard to wrap your head around at first. Like even I'm pretty tech savvy, but I'm having a hard time figuring out the best way to explain it in very simple terms other than I think the best way is just like your device becomes your key.
Right. And what the other thing that's making it hard to get people to adopt it is everybody's doing it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So like every site you go to, and every passkey storage, which we'll get into the different options for storage, is slightly different. And for me, at first, I was worried like, so it's tied to a particular device, so I can't share passkeys with my wife then, right? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, you can do it. Like it can be across multiple devices. So like if you have if you have Apple devices, you could have it. iCloud has a password manager, and it will store passkeys so that they're available on your phone, your iPad, your Mac, your Vision Pro, whatever. The passkeys are available, and then you could share them in a shared password vault. 1Password lets you do that now. Android has that, so you can store across devices, so that's good. But one of the other nice things is you can't be phished for it. If someone, this huge problem of people getting pop-ups and being told to, re-enter your Microsoft credentials here in a pop-up, and then you enter in your username and password, and now they've stolen your credentials. You can't they can't do that. Like you can't, if they popped up and said, enter your passkey, well, they don't have the other half of the puzzle. So my passkey will say, no, that's not right on the other side. I'm not, there's something wrong here, and it won't give it. Like you can't you can't be fished into giving it away. I think that's another excellent aspect.
And that is a good thing to bring up, where not only do you have to have like the person on the public end, the website that has the lock, they only have the lock for your passkey is only going to fit in your lock, but someone cannot fake that lock.
Right.
So if you try to just give someone your passkey, you have to have that other piece of it.
Right. I don't know how hard would it be for someone to steal that lock from a site. I don't think it's possible, but I'm not sure how that works. But I'm pretty sure like a hacker can't go in and steal all of the public key as parts of your passkey from a site. I don't think it works that way. I think it's tied to a particular site. Like if they went to a different site, it wouldn't be the same key.
Yeah.
The other,
and that's why.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why you have to set up a new passkey for. Like I know I've been getting prompts from different websites as they transition over. Like you have to set up a passkey for each individual site. It's not just a one size fits all.
Right. That's what I was going to say. And that's kind of good because it means you can't reuse passkeys.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't, like a lot of us used to do. A lot of people still do. They use the same password across multiple sites. And so when something does get broken into, they have to change it on, that password's not out there and they have to change everything. For a long time we've been saying, a lot of people have been saying, don't do that. Don't reuse passwords. Use a password manager. You have unique passwords. But now you don't have to worry about it. This is a built-in part of the system. So you don't have to memorize passwords. You're not typing passwords. So keyloggers aren't stealing your passwords. That's the spy software on your computer that captures all the keystrokes on your keyboard. None of that. And then, it's also faster than two-factor authentication, because two-factor is better than just password, and it can kind of use, the whole idea of biometrics to unlock and that sort of thing, because it's the two-factor can be, app can be on your phone, but you have to go to your phone, open up the app, find the code, type in the code, and it changes every 30 seconds. So if you don't do it fast enough, you have to do it again, Or worse, sometimes the two-factor, it texts it to you in the clear, which is not very secure at all. But since it changes every 30, so they're only good for 30 seconds or so. It's not terrible. It's better than not having it. But yeah, and the fact that it uses biometrics, which means it uses whatever it takes to unlock your device. So if you're unlocking your device with a 4-digit PIN code, that's as secure as your passkey is going to be. But I think pretty much everything out there today, any device that's been sold in the last few years doesn't let you do a 4-digit PIN code to unlock it anymore. I think they've all kind of figured that out.
They all have the capability for it. And if you're not using biometrics, you definitely should. And even if you're not, then that's just kind of a risk you're taking, I feel like.
Right. You're opening yourself up. And so it probably doesn't need to be said, but we'll say it anyway. Why are passwords bad? Why are we replacing passwords with passkeys? Well, again, people reuse their passwords, across multiple sites.
Yeah, just go on Google and search password breach. And even just in the past couple of weeks, there was a massive one. There was like billions of user data leaked. And it doesn't take much for someone to just even do like a spraying attack where they just get a bunch of passwords and then they target accounts and use those ones that have been used over and over again. And that's how they get in. Right.
Exactly. And yeah, it's become such a problem of when you, what is it? There was an article we talked about a while ago where they looked at the frequency. They went through all of these breaches and these files that they find online that have actual passwords, and it's gold for security researchers because they can look at people's password practices, and they found there are clear patterns. When people make passwords, there are clear patterns to the passwords. Like obviously the top 10 passwords are things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pass the word password, that sort of stuff. But when you get into it, there's others that are clear patterns where hackers can narrow it down, so they're too easy to be reused. Whereas passkeys are very long, like I think 120-bit, I think you said, 128-bit, unique cryptographic, almost impossible to crack unless you're the NSA or something. Passwords can be hard to remember. They have to be hard to remember because if they're not, they're easy to guess. So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They can be phished. People can trick you into revealing them. They're easier to crack with brute force, as I just said. And while password managers help with some of these, they can help you have a longer password. They don't help with if the site that you're using is insecure. It doesn't help prevent them from being hacked. But it also doesn't help if you getting tricked and phished and that sort of stuff. So passwords are they're not great. They're really, we really need to move beyond them. They're an old solution that worked for a time, but we've really moved beyond them.
And a good thing about, I'm not sure exactly how the iOS devices do it, but with the Google Password Manager on Android, it will scan the sites that you have saved as passwords, and it will let you know when a passkey becomes available, so you can keep up with switching over your passwords to passkeys, which is really nice.
I don't use the built-in Apple Password Manager because 1Password was an early adopter of passkeys, and it does do that. It will tell you, like, in fact, it has a feature called Watchtower, where it actually gives you all kinds of information about, whether sites have been hacked and, passwords should be changed. But it also does tell you, it tells you when you can set up a passkey for a particular site, and then we'll give you the link right to where you need to go to set up the passkey. It's not perfect because usually you still, if it's a site that you had a password for before, that password is still active. So, so you can still log in with a password. So that password's still out there. So even when you have a passkey for a site, if it's still got a password, you want to also set up 2-factor authentication as that double extra. So it's not as secure as if there were no password at all, for anything you set up from today onward, say, but it's better than the past. And it's easier. Even if if you have a password and a 2-factor authentication, passkeys are so much easier to use and faster. So, yeah.
If it's on your phone, it's usually you just go to the site and you either scan your fingerprint or do like the Face ID and you're in. Much quicker.
Right. You go, you go and it will. Some sites don't even ask, like, do you want to log in? They'll like pop up. It'll say, entering with passkey. It'll do the biometric, and then boom, you're in. Which is great because I hate go to a site trying to do things and like, oh, you've been logged out, I don't want to be logged out, keep me logged in. This if it's using the passkey in that fast fashion, you won't even hardly notice logging in. So to kind of go over like some more detail on how passkeys work. So again, like passkeys are built on something called cryptographic key pairs, a matching lock. One stays with you, another one stays with the server or the website, and it's almost in some ways, if I think about it, it's like the old movies where they were going to launch the nuclear missiles. They had to have 2 keys, like the launch officers had 2 keys, and they had to turn them at the same time. It's kind of like that. If you have 1 key, it's not going to activate it. If you have 2 keys, but one of them's the wrong key, it's not going to activate it. They have to be both the right key. They're not the same key. It's it can't be your key twice. It's got to be 2 different keys, but they're a matched pair. So think about it like that. And so when you want to log in, your device shows it has the right key to open the lock without actually handing the key over. That's the genius of passkeys. The secret key never leaves your device, so it's never on the website. And so no shared secrets, and that's the shared secrets is the basis of security. Like this idea of like a password is a shared secret. It's a secret that I know and the website knows. Whereas with passkeys, my private key is what I know. The public key on the server is what they know, but it's a shared secret like that. Yeah. So,
yeah. I was going to say one of the biggest hurdles that I've encountered with Passkeys and also getting people to use Passkeys is the worry of, well, what if I lose my device and all my Passkeys are lost? And fortunately, I know the Android, like Google's password manager, I know Apple also, Bitwarden and OnePass, they also do cloud backup. So even if you lose your phone, you still have your Passkeys. They're still going to be backed up and connected to your account.
Right. Yes, that's exactly the same way with Apple. It's connected to your iCloud account, or if you have not just one password, but there's others as well. We'll tell you more about those in a bit. But yes, you want to use a password manager that's part of a system, not alone. That was the danger. Like we had passkeys that were connected to physical, like thumb drive type things. Mm-hmm. But the danger with those is it's a physical device that you could lose. So you always wanted to have a couple of them. And one that you store somewhere safe, and that they're all the same. But then that was kind of like, that's very secure because it's literally a physical thing that you have to have in your hand. But it also means that it's very risky if something happens to that one. Whereas storing it in the cloud in an account makes it more safe that you're not going to lose it. It has to be that way for it to reach mass acceptance, because people are going to lose devices. They're going to break devices. So that's for sure. What else? Some people ask, well, how is this different from two-factor authentication? And that comes up. Two-factor authentication, as I said before, still uses the password. So the password still exists. It's, two-factor, one-factor authentication is something that's your password. Mm-hmm. Two-factor authentication is something and something you have. The something is the password. The something you have is your device or whatever that's running a program, generating the unique code or receiving unique code via email or text. Passkeys is kind of beyond that, because it's something you have and something So your device and it's not even something because it's just something you have, because it's your biometrics unlocking the device.
Right. It's something you have and something you are, because you have your device and then also your biometrics to unlock the device.
That's a good way to put it. Thank you. Yeah. Two-factor still requires the password, but it eliminates the password part and keeps the something you have part and adds the something you are part. Mm-hmm. So we've alluded to this a few times. If you are in the Apple or Google ecosystems, like almost everybody listening to this is, you're one or the other, you're Android or Apple usually. They have built passkeys into the systems. They have, especially the phones, and they have built-in password managers that use these. Safari is really good at doing the passkeys, so it works really well on iOS, and I'm sure it's just the same in Chrome and Google.
Mm-hmm. And if you use a lot of Microsoft products, Microsoft's passkey management is actually pretty good. And if you either have an iPhone or an Android phone, you can download. Microsoft has authenticator apps that you can use with your Microsoft account. So even if you're not in one of those mobile ecosystems, there are other options out there too.
Right. And Microsoft is kind of aggressively moving toward passkeys. They're eliminating passwords from their authenticator accounts, their password management accounts. They want you to be passkey. Mm-hmm. So, they're phasing it out. You have like Windows Hello is their native passkey manager. It says, but if you're cross-platform or you want something a little less, you're tied to a particular company, you can there are a number of third-party apps out there. I mentioned I use 1Password that has the best cross-platform support. It's on everything: Google, Microsoft, Windows. It's on Linux. It's on Apple. It's everywhere. Dashlane is another commercial product that is out there as well. Bitwarden is the best open source alternative to that. And then we mentioned Google Password Manager and the Apple iCloud Keychain. You can get, they are coming out with iOS support on the Google Password Manager via the Google app. So that's good. And you can get Windows support in Apple iCloud Keychain via the iCloud for Windows support apps and support. So any of those will work with it. And it's pretty flawless. I mean, it works really well, but it's how do I put it? It still can be a little bit complicated at times, whether it's setting them up or sometimes even using them. Like, what is it wanting me to do at this point? How do I do this? I don't want to discourage anyone from using passkeys. You should start switching over, be more secure. But I think more work still needs to be done on the user interface and making it user friendly.
Definitely. I think that's the biggest hurdle right now is every app and every like web provider is doing passkeys a little bit differently. Sometimes they're much more transparent about how they're doing it and what they're actually asking you to do, but it's kind of hit and miss with everyone. And I think the problem is right now it's kind of confusing, and especially if you're not working with tech a lot, it is very confusing.
Right.
So there's a lot of confusion out there. There's some misinformation, fortunately not too much. There's some fear, like I said, with the people like worrying about losing their devices or losing access. So I think that education is really the biggest thing that needs to be done, and also just kind of standardizing how do we deploy passkeys and how do we accept them.
Right. Yeah, I'm the admin for our Google Workspace for SQPN, and I was just going through like, oh, should we set up passkeys, like require passkeys for everyone in our system? And I was looking at them like, oh man, this would be confusing for people if I suddenly flip this switch on. We need to do some education before we do this, even with a tech savvy crowd. I had to make sure I turned on passkeys for all of our admin accounts, which was important. Google's been warning Workspace admins, like, you need to have a passkey, and two-factor at least, but definitely a passkey for all your admin accounts. So it's getting hairy out there on the internet, with hackers and stuff. You need to protect yourself. So, and passkeys is the future. This is been clearly the industry has decided that this is the secure future, and it is. It's much more secure than what we've had. It's not perfect because there's still, anywhere you have the human element, we can still screw up and mess things up. And in the long transition away from passwords, and it will be a long transition, maybe even after I'm dead, that you'll still have passwords around for things, but there's still the capacity for things to go wrong. But we've got to move in this direction. I think that's the key. So I hope this is enough to get people started and interested in doing this, and encouraging you to go out and try. I know we've heard from a number of listeners who said that they wanted to hear about passkeys and hear us talk about, what is it? Why is we doing it? How do I get started? So this is consider this an introduction. If you have more questions or concerns, please let us know. We will come back and address them in future episodes. You can email us at technology@sqpn.com, or go to our Discord community at sqpn.com/discord and ask questions there. We'll answer questions directly, but we will also bring them to a future episode. All right, so let's move on at this point, and we'll take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Chris M., Paul S., Brian L., Robert W., and Daniel P. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So, Jack, you just put in the show notes a link to a YouTube video.
Yes, it's a video from Microsoft Security. They put it out last summer when they really started their big push for passkeys, and it's a really good, simple breakdown of how passkeys work and what you need to do. I think that'd probably be a good resource if you're still feeling confused about it. Like, it just breaks it down very simply.
Excellent. Very good. Yeah, that actually, I should look at that myself just to make sure I'm talking about it right. Excellent. So let's move on to talk about a couple headlines. Our first headline comes from, was this the Washington Post? I think it was. Yes. AI is now screening job candidates before humans ever see them. Oh, yes. If it's another week of Secrets of Tech, another week with a dystopian AI story. I'm not anti-AI. Really, I use it all every day, but you gotta talk about this stuff. So apparently what's happening is a lot of companies are using AI agents to do pre-screening interviews where, if you apply for a job, what's happening before is you apply for a job and your resume goes through a AI that, spits it out and says, this is a possible candidate. Nah, this guy's not good. Now what they have are AI agents that schedule interviews with you, and they're, avatars that come up on screen and, a video call and talk to you and ask you questions and you're supposed to answer. And people are kind of unhappy with the quality that they're encountering. A couple of folks talked about how what was it? One woman was saying that she was trying to answer questions being posed to it, and it would cut her off in the middle of sentences, or it would not understand what she was saying, and finally just said, it cut her off and says, "That's okay. I'll call you back later." Click. Okay. It just felt rude and dehumanizing. Jack, what do you think is, even if they fixed this sort of problem, they made it less dehumanizing, less, more human. Is this still, do you think it's still acceptable? Would you want to be pre-screened by an AI?
I would deny any job interview that had me be pre-screened by an AI. That's just insulting and kind of just gross. I fully understand, like, when recruiters are taking in resumes for different jobs, I totally get, like, you want to feed all those into like an AI or whatever, and it can like go through the resumes and collate together that information and give you information based on what the candidate's qualifications are. So like, I totally understand using AI as a filtering tool for the recruiter to just go through the data. But I think forcing an actual person to sit down and answer questions to an AI is just kind of, well, first of all, like, you're not going to get actual good data back from that, because AI chatbots they're a lot better than they used to be, but they're still not anywhere near what you're going to need for that human interaction. And really, I feel like the biggest thing with job interviews is if you get to the point where you're being interviewed, they're not interviewing you based on what you know. They're trying to make sure you're like a decent human being to work with and you're going to be easy to work with. Like, that's the point of an interview, is the human to human interaction.
Right. That's really, because otherwise you would just get the resume and say, this person has the qualifications and ability to do the job, hire them. Like, an interview is about making a human connection,
right? Human
interaction. Who are you? You are a person. You're joining. Like, I don't like the whole, like, our company's a family. If your company's a family, that means you're going to expect more from me than I want to give, because I already got a family that takes up a lot of my time. I don't need another one. But but there is the sense of that there's a human connection being made. I'm not merely a cog in the machine. I don't want to be a cog in your machine. And when you send a machine out to do this human part of the job, that says something about your company. I kind of hope that people get I hope people will react to this like they did to, say, like, not to drag poor Catholic Answers down, because I really admire the organization, but for the Father Justin AI thing, like, you sent an AI chat avatar out to do a human person's job, and your intentions were good, but you forgot what we're about, which is to make human connections.
And my philosophy on AI is kind of like, I'll speak to it conversationally because that's the easiest way that I know how to convey information as a human. But I don't want my AI pretending that it's a human on the other end. Like, I know it's not a human. I don't need it to pretend to be a human.
I hate when it goes like, "Oh, I'm really excited for you." No, you're not.
Yeah, you're incapable of it.
Right. You don't have emotion. I don't like when it play acts at being human. Yeah, that's sort of veneer of humanity that they put on is really disturbing. I really think that, what was it? Google's Notebook LM has this really interesting feature where you can feed it a bunch of data, and you can it will do all kinds of manipulation to it. But it has the ability, you press a button and it will output a podcast about it.
Yeah.
With two people talking about it. And, like, we could make podcasts like that. Like, I could, input all kinds of information about Star Trek in and have have it output episodes of Star Trek, but nobody wants that. Like I don't want to like the data machine learning scrubbing of Star Trek episodes. I want interaction and banter and humanity out of it.
Yeah, I've used Notebook LM. I actually took a short story that I wrote and gave it to it and had it generate a podcast to talk about this short story. And it was very weird to listen to because it sounded like two people talking about a story, but all the observations they made were very, very surface level. And it's one of those things where on first blush, it sounds very convincing, but if you listen to what they're actually talking about, it's not real. Like it's incapable of going any deeper because they don't have the lived experience of actual humans to pull from. So it's just mimicking it, and it's very shallow.
I once fed it the sqpn.com website and said, give me a 20-minute podcast about this. It was interesting. And it was fruitful because it gave me new ways of looking at who we are and what we do. Mm-hmm. Which is precisely the point of such a thing, right? I wouldn't put that out there as a podcast about SQPN. It was a way of just putting a new lens on who we are, what we do. And I'm like, oh, that's a fascinating idea. Yeah. I have never thought of it that way. So that is good. But yeah, as you listen to it, it just felt so shallow. It was like, gosh, I mean, there are YouTube channels with actual human beings that are that shallow. So, I've seen, shows or TV shows, frankly, talk shows where it's that shallow, but it was kind of weird. And I wouldn't want that as a regular diet. I mean, maybe some people would. Maybe like if you've always wanted to read the great Russian novels, but the idea of 3,000-page novels, one after the other, makes your stomach turn. You could feed it War and Peace and Dostoevsky's, the Gulag Archipelago and all this other stuff, and have it create a 20-minute or a 30-minute or an hour-long podcast about them, and you'd learn stuff about it. You definitely would, but it would be kind of shallow. It wouldn't have the insight of a human soul.
Yeah,
and that sounds, I don't know, maybe cheesy. But I think there's a reality to it that a human approaches things with a soul.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of to go back to the original news story. Like when I've been in job interviews and I'm interviewing someone, like they can have the best qualifications on paper, but if they're not someone who you like can see working with or can see like they work easily with the team and they're going to be easy to work. And the biggest thing for me is they're going to want to learn. Like you can be the most qualified person in the world, but if you're not willing to learn and willing to work with other people, you're going to be a terrible employee. I'd rather hire someone who knows nothing and is willing to learn and will work well with others than hire someone who knows everything, but is just difficult to be around. And you're not going to be able to get that from an AI.
Right. I've always said, you can teach people to do even technical jobs, but you can't teach humanity. You can't teach, critical thinking. Well, you can teach it, but you can teach. Yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say is you can't get that from an AI that's just looking at someone's qualifications and whether they have a technical background and answering a bunch of questions, in this format. And a lot of, to be fair, a lot of the companies behind these AI agents, they say these are, we're not pre-screening, the AI isn't doing the screening. A human being looks at the information and, but there's got to be some screening going on because otherwise you just have the human do it. So, whatever their pitch is, there's still screening going on.
I think that if we're going to move to a society where it's considered acceptable for an employer to use an AI agent as a hiring tool, then it should be acceptable for employees to send AI avatars to do the interviews for them.
That would be funny. It's like when people were putting the Alexa and the HomePods together, making them talk to each other. Yeah, that would be interesting. See someone do that. So our next headline is a fun one. NASA teams with Netflix to stream rocket launches and spacewalks this summer. So NASA's had NASA TV for ages. A lot of cable network systems have it as one of the available channels, usually for free or in a package. And there's a NASA app that you can get on Roku and Apple TV and that sort of stuff. So now they're doing something NASA Plus on Netflix, which is a lot of the same content for free without ads on Netflix. And they basically said they're trying to just reach more people, reach a bigger mainstream audience, which is interesting because, with the old apps and channels and stuff, you had to search it out. Whereas if it's on Netflix, it's going to bubble up in recommendations and algorithms. What do you think of this? Is it a waste of time? Do you think people will watch it? Do you watch NASA TV ever?
I'll turn it on. Honestly, a lot of times I'll just have it on as like background noise because it can be very soothing to watch. And if something interesting happens, like I'll pay more attention to it. But I think this is cool, especially because it's not a situation where they're taking away their free access to the content. They're simply putting it on Netflix where it wasn't before. And so people who would not be searching it out otherwise might get the opportunity to see it. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be exclusive or they're going to try to get into other streamers as well, like Prime or Apple TV or whatever. Their intent is to be everywhere. I don't know if Netflix is paying them for it. That would be an interesting question. Nothing in the article says whether the taxpayer is getting anything in exchange. I like the idea. I like in this age of SpaceX and Blue Origin and more space stuff. And with Artemis coming around the corner, I'm so excited for that. I think it's a good idea. I think this might be part of the ramp up to Artemis, because once we're launching people back to the moon, watching it on Netflix is probably going to be a big part of that. So yeah, that's nice.
They just need to chop it up into like 10-second clips and start sticking it on TikTok, I guess. Yes. They might already do that. Honestly, I haven't looked. That's actually a good question. Yeah, they might have clips.
And then finally, this is a follow up to something we talked about last week. We talked about this viral Facebook post that was going around talking about how the Catechism of the Catholic Church got online in English through the grassroots effort in a parish in Picayune, Mississippi, which I just love that it's in Picayune, St. Charles Borromeo Parish, and how 25 years ago these people got online. Well, Alatea website tracked down the guy who did it. They got the Navy guy, quote unquote, coded the Catholic Catechism in his spare time. Okay, he didn't code it. He created a website with the Catechism. It's the non-technical people, and I'm going to guess he's like he. It doesn't say exactly what he did for the Navy, but I'm going to guess he was a civilian contractor or employee or something like that. Like he wasn't. It doesn't say he was enlisted. He was working full time for the Navy at the time. But it's a great story about how this guy said, "Why not?" and just started scanning the Catechism in page by ripped out page. And then learned HTML, because again, 25 years ago, everything was hand coded with HTML, and hand coded a whole website with the entire catechism in a searchable database. I salute you, sir. That is one great service to humanity.
Yeah, and I've seen some people like making fun of using the term coded for this online, and like yes, but also. That's a lot of data to input into a searchable website. Like that's still a lot of work. So no one needs to be knocking what he's doing. It was amazing.
Right. Like all of that HTML was I'm going to guess when he was doing this was being handwritten, not like in some third party, graphical layout app. It was that back in those days. I was making websites then, and you were hand coding.
Yeah.
Open tag, close tag stuff. And just the OCR scanning 25 years ago and fixing all the errors, because 25 years ago, 30 years ago, there were a lot of errors, in the OCR, and so just it's amazing. He says that at first it felt a little daunting, which is funny, but before long, I was seeing the literal pages pile up, and I was seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And by the way, we should use his name. His name is John Meyer, because he deserves to be name recognition. He did a great thing, a great service to all of us for free.
Yeah.
God's blessing on you, sir. So those are our headlines this week. Let's move on to our picks of the week. Jack, why don't you go first? What's your pick this week?
My pick of the week ties into our main topic. I was going to recommend the Bitwarden password and passkey manager. It's a free and open source software. They have paid versions. I think it's really cheap. It's like $10 a year for a single user, or $40 a year if you're like a family. And they also have like enterprise options too. But it lets you manage all your passwords, all your passkeys, lets you organize things really well into different categories, which is really nice. They have apps for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, Linux. It's a completely cross-platform. And it's an open source system too, which means that the code is actually audited a lot more closely than a lot of closed source systems are. So I definitely recommend that one. If you're looking for a good passkey manager and you haven't settled on one, I definitely recommend Bitwarden.
I mean, yeah, they work with every browser you can imagine: Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari, right down to Tor. You can use it in the Tor browser. There's a command line integration where you could use it from the command line. They have is it a separate authenticator app that they have, and it's part of the system, or is it? So that
I'm pretty sure it's built into the app. Like, it's all kind of tied together. You get there's some extra functionality you get if you pay for the subscription, but you still get all the basic features for free. And that, honestly, that's the one I use, the free version, and it's worked great for everything I need.
Right. Even the business pricing is pretty darn reasonable when you compare to others. So that's awesome. And the you're like, oh, does it look like, a Windows 96 Windows XP app? No, it looks really good, actually. Yeah, it's a nice, modern, well-designed app. So definitely check it out. Very good. I like it. So my pick this week is a bit of low tech, but it's something every home should have, which is a ratcheting wrench screwdriver set. I picked this particular one from Amazon, but there's bunches of them out there. You can get it at Home Depot and Lowe's, and Tractor Supply will have them. But you want to have a set that has a lot of different bits, and even this one even has sockets. That's what I'm trying to say. An extender, and it comes in a case, a nice convenient case, and it's ratcheting, so it helps you with the screwing in righty tighty lefty loosey and all that sort of stuff. And this one comes like a ton of different bits here. I had one for years that I've used, and it ended up. I think I ended up wearing out the screw bits, and I'm like, I could go find new bits, but it was $20 for a brand new set of 73. Whatever. I might as well just get a whole new set in whatnot, and so. Just have it, put it in a drawer. I'm constantly finding things that need to be like tightened. In my house, 5 kids, doorknobs are constantly getting loose.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing to the doorknobs, but they're constantly loose. Especially the girls. Are you hanging on it?
My daughter already will do the thing where she'll grab the doorknob by either hand and just like swing herself on the door, like Tarzan style, just back and forth. So it's probably something like that.
Yeah, I remember doing that as a kid. I don't know why my dad was always like, stop doing that. Because it also pulls the doors you can pull them out of alignment. So anyway, this is the Amazon Basics magnetic ratcheting wrench, electronic precision screwdriver set, 73 pieces, $20. It's probably on right now as we're recording, it's Amazon Prime week. It's now like 4 days. It's not a Prime Day anymore. So you might be able to get it on sale. So double check that out. Excellent. So those are our picks of the week, and that's it from us. We'd love to know what you thought of any part of our discussion. Like I said, any questions you have about Passkeys, we can answer in a future episode. Let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, and you'll find links from our discussion and picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC306. Remember to like each episode of Secrets of Tech on Facebook, retweet them where we're on Twitter X at SQPN. I'm living in the past. Leave us comments there as well. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, Jack Baruzzini, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another podcast on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy: The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/secrets.